So one of our greatest tools in connecting with teens is your story. People may not feel open to the Lord yet, or His Word, but they love to hear a good story. And don't assume that your story is not a good one. Maybe you have lived a godly life your whole life, but the thing is, you did it out of duty. Brittany Perkins always talks about that. How her life, she always did exactly what her mom, she always stayed out of trouble, always was a good, perfect person on the outside, but it was out of duty. She was afraid of her mom, she did it out of fear of God, and she didn't do it because she had a heart for God. And she always talks about how God transformed her heart to love Him and to be broken for Him and to be broken for people. And that is when He started to really she had this real relationship with Him in her life. She always knew Christ. She always had a relationship with Him, but it was kind of surfacey. And that's a great testimony, you know. Did she do anything really bad in her life? No. Brittany was a, for lack of a Girl Scout, you know. I mean, she just had sometimes this legalism that was just wrapping her up in a lot of things in her life. So she didn't do a lot of things wrong. But there was obviously a block between her and God. And she recognized it, and she shares that very openly. And for a lot of people in life, that's what they need to hear. So don't assume your testimony is worthless. Don't assume that, just also too, if you have a real, I was doing crack cocaine, I was dealing, I was doing this, I was doing that, man. We robbed banks, we were doing all kinds of crazy things, and then I found Jesus and I got my life right. Don't assume that that's going to reach someone though either. Because there might be somebody that looks at that and says, I can't relate to that. I mean, that's awesome that happened to you, but that wasn't my life. That's not my story, you know, and don't get disappointed with that either. You know, if your story isn't connecting, because God still can use your story in different arenas and at different times, and don't be discouraged, you know, if you feel like your story isn't connecting with people. God, it is your story. He's fashioned you. He's walked you down. Some people took beatings getting here. I took beatings getting here, you know, but my beatings might be different than y'all beatings, you know, to get to this place that we're at. And so it's a very powerful tool. Your testimony, your story can help people relate to you. Your testimony helps people feel that they can relate. Oh wait, did she write that twice? Your testimony helps people see that you don't think that you're better than them. It gives them, and that's a big one. What is the biggest critique that the Christian church always has in the United States? We'll just use the United States. Is that we think we're better than people. That we point at the sins of everyone else, the homosexuals, the people who are getting abortions, the people who are living these other lifestyles, and we point our finger at them and they feel like we think we're better than them. Your testimony lets them know, I'm not better than you. I am wretched. God saved me. It is by His grace that I am standing here right now, you know? And so it lets people know that we do not think that we're better than them. We're being open and honest about what we've been through. It gives you a commonality with people. You know, I always think in my life of the time when we lost our baby. Some of the people I've shared this with before, and Amy was talking to one of our friends and was communicating that with them. And, you know, that person opened up and shared that they had been molested, you know, when they were young. And I remember that then Amy would talk to that person, because the person was a little younger than Amy, and she'd talk to that person and say, you need help, and let's talk about this. And no, silent. But when Amy shared with her what she was going through and her feelings of losing a baby and loss and what she was dealing with, she would always respond back with opening up about her situation. And so Amy's like, man, every time I try to talk to her to get her help, she won't talk to me. But it seems to be every time that I talk to her about what I'm going through, she talks to me. And I said, well, she's connecting with you on that point. Keep sharing your heart with that person. You know, and what you're going through. Be honest with them. They're being vulnerable to you back. You know, and this person's not particularly vulnerable, you know. And as the months and years went on, you know, God really brought a lot of healing in that young person's life, and it also brought a lot of healing to my wife's life, because also at that time, you want to know what was being answered, a question that was being answered at the time, even though it was still hard to swallow, was something good coming from loss, you know? And that was almost instantly after we lost the baby. And so When you share your stories or your struggles or your things with people, you open them up to people. You're helping them bond with you and connect with you, and have a point, commonality. So, we need to make sure that we're being vulnerable. But again, use wisdom in your vulnerability. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to spend some time sharing our testimonies.